Good morning, children. How are you all? Going on nice and smart? I hope all of you are doing well. 4 weeks have gone by, and I think all of you must have got used to this online classes. I hope you all are enjoying and taking it very seriously. Okay, so today we will go ahead with the supplementary reader, the first chapter. I hope all of you remember doing from the Tricky's dog and all that, Pumphrey, Mrs. Pumphrey, and the pet and the funny thing which we had learnt in that chapter. Now in the second chapter, the thief's story, it is about a thief. I just write down. Now, this thief's story by Ruskin Bond is actually a very, very interesting story. And all the chapters in the supplementary reader, actually, if you see, is more about the little values which we should have in our life. Now, before I go into the story, Ruskin Bond, who is this Ruskin Bond? Ruskin Bond is actually an Englishman. And his grandfather had come here in India during the time when the Britishers were ruling India. He was an engine driver, and Ruskin Bond still lives in Missouri, and he doesn't want to leave India. He loves India so much that he has made it into his hometown. And if you read his stories, they're all short little stories, but each one much better than the other. And I would recommend all of you to read at least 1 or 2 stories from Ruskin Bond during these holidays. You'll find it in the net. I hope all of you, I just remember, did all of you see that movie, The Boy in Striped Pajamas, when I was teaching Anne Frank? I hope you have. Okay, I trust that you must have seen it. Similarly, I would ask you to read 1 or 2 stories of Ruskin Bond. Now this thief's story is about a thief whom he doesn't reveal that he is a thief. He gets in contact with Anil, who is the character in the story, and he gets to live in the house of Anil, who is a writer for magazines. Now Anil is a person who doesn't get work often, so he is short of money. And the idea of this thief, whose name is Hari Singh, is that he will get very friendly with Anil and then rob him, because that is his profession. But don't you think, when you make a friend in life, the first and the foremost thing which we remember in our life is the trust which we should have with our friend. We believe in that, we expect it, and we think that a friend should be a person whom we can trust. Now, this Hari Singh was a young boy of 15, and Anil was actually a man of 25. Now they come to live together with the deal that there was no money to be paid by Anil to the man, because when he comes to live with him, Hari Singh doesn't know how to cook, but he says that he knows how to cook. Anil says that I can't give you money, but you can cook for me. But Hari Singh doesn't reveal the fact that he doesn't know how to cook, and he says that he knows how to cook, and they start living. So the deal is that Hari Singh will cook for him and Anil would eat that. There is no money otherwise, salary wise. Okay, and then slowly Hari Singh learns to cook in the house, and also he learns to read and write. But once in a while, when Anil gets some work by writing in the magazines, he celebrates and throws parties and all, and they have a nice life. Now when one day he gets some money, and the thief who had been living in the house without nurturing his thief qualities is now waiting for the money which can be stolen. He sees where Anil does it and hides the money, and then he plans to steal it. He steals it, and then he runs away from the home, planning to take a train and leave the state or the place. But a nagging thought comes to his mind that his master, after noticing that the money is lost, will not feel sad, will not be afraid or anything of that sort. He will miss the fact that the boy whom he had allowed to live in the house, that is Hari Singh, has misplaced his trust. And let us see what happens and how Hari Singh comes back to the house to keep up the trust in his life. I'll just read the story. Open your books to page number 8 and follow me. It's a very simple story, so I don't think I have to explain much. Just follow me. I was still a thief when I met Anil, and though only 15, I was an experienced and fairly successful hand. Anil was watching a wrestling match when I approached him. He was about 25, a tall, lean fellow, and he looked easygoing, kind, and simple enough for my purpose. I hadn't had much luck of late, and though I might be able to get into the young man's confidence. You look a bit of a wrestler yourself, I said. A little flattery helps in making friends. So do you, he replied, which put me off for a moment because at that time I was rather thin. Well, I said modestly, I do wrestle a bit. What is your name? Hari Singh, I lied. I took a new name every month. That kept me ahead of the police and my former employees. After this introduction, Anil talked about the well-oiled wrestlers who were grunting, lifting, and throwing each other about. I didn't have much to say. Anil walked away. I followed casually. Hello again, he said. I gave him my most appealing smile. I want to work for you, I said, but I can't pay you. I thought that over for a minute. Perhaps I had misjudged my man. I asked, can you feed me? Can you cook? I can cook, I lied again. If you can cook, then maybe I can feed you. He took me to his room over the Jumna's sweet shop and told me I could sleep on the balcony. But the meal I cooked that night must have been terrible because Anil gave it to a stray dog and told me to be off. But I just hung around, smiling in my most appealing way, and he couldn't help laughing. Later, he patted me on the head and said, never mind, he would teach me to cook. He also taught me to write my name and said he would soon teach me to write whole sentences and to add numbers. I was grateful. I knew that once I could write like an educated man, there would be no limit to what I could achieve. It was quite pleasant working for Anil. I made the tea in the morning and then would take my time buying the day's supplies, usually making a profit of about rupee a day. I think he knew I made a little money this way, but he did not seem to mind. Look at the way the trust is developing between the two men. Anil made money by fits and starts. Underline the phrase fits and starts. It means that once in a while. When there is no money, there is no money at all. But when he gets money, he gets a good amount. He would borrow 1 week, lend the other. He kept worrying about his next check, but as soon as it arrived, he would go out and celebrate. It seems he wrote for magazines. A cure way to make a living. One evening, he came home with a small bundle of notes, saying he had just sold a book to a publisher. At night, I saw him tuck the money under the mattress. Tuck means when you put something underneath. You tuck a letter or a book under your arm. You tuck the bed sheet into the mattress. You tuck a letter or a book under the pillow. That is the way the word tuck is used. I had been working for Anil for almost a month. And apart from cheating on the shopping, had not done anything in my line of work. What is this line of work? Line of work means his profession. That is his stealing. Till then, he had cheated Anil for some money when he went grocery shopping at the market. But otherwise, he never did any kind of stealing. I had every opportunity for doing so. Anil had given me the key to the door, and I could come and go as I pleased. He was the most trusting person I had ever met. Underline that line, most trusting person. And that is why it was so difficult to rob him. It is easy to rob a greedy man because he can afford to be robbed. But it is difficult to rob a careless man. Sometimes he doesn't even notice he has been robbed, and that takes all the pleasure out of the work. Well, it's time I did some real work. I told myself, I am out of patience. I'm out of practice. And if I don't take the money, he will only waste it on his friends. After all, he doesn't even pay me. Anil was asleep. A beam of moonlight stepped over the balcony and fell on the bed. I sat up on the floor, considering the situation. If I took the money, I could catch the 10:30 express to Lucknow. Slipping out of the blanket, I crept up to the bed. Anil was sleeping peacefully. His face was clear and underlined. Even I had more marks on my face, though mine were mostly scars. My hand slid under the mattress, searching for the notes. When I found them, I drew them out without a sound. Anil sighed in his sleep and turned on his side towards me. I was startled and quickly crawled out of the room. When I was on the road, I began to run. I had the notes at my waist, held there by the strings of my pajamas. I slowed down to a walk and counted the notes. 600 rupees in 50s. I could live like an oil-rich Arab for a week or two. When I reached the station, I did not stop at the ticket office. I had never bought a ticket in my life, but dashed straight to the platform. The Lucknow Express was just moving out. The train had still to pick up speed, and I should have been able to jump in one of the carriages. But I hesitated. For some reason, I can't explain, and I lost the chance to get away. When the train had gone, I found myself standing alone on the deserted platform. Deserted, I hope you understand the word deserted. Children, if the meaning is lonely, deserted area, deserted road, when there is no one there, we always say that we should be careful when we are on a deserted road. See, the word desert has got two other words. This desert and this desert. I think all of you understand the difference between the two words. The spelling is slightly different, only one nice extra here, which is a pudding on Swedish, and this is the desert, the sandy area where you find the Sahara desert and all that. So we have three meanings actually, three words coming under the same category of words, just almost the same spelling. I had no idea where to spend the night. I had no friends, believing that friends were more trouble than help. And I did not want to make anyone curious by staying at one of the other hotels near the station. The only person I knew really well was the man I had robbed. Leaving the station, I walked slowly through the bazaar. In my short career as a thief, I had made a study of men's faces when they had lost their goods. The greedy man showed fear. Fear for what? Losing his money. That he may lose it. Those kinds of, he has always fear in his mind. The rich man showed anger that he has lost his money, angry at that person after he has been robbed. The poor man showed acceptance, means what to do? He has robbed it. I can live without it. He accepts the fact. But I knew that Anil's face, when he discovered the theft, would show only a touch of sadness, not for the loss of money, but for the loss of trust. Underline that whole paragraph, all of you. Now, okay, underline? Yes, I'll continue. I found myself in the Maidan and sat down on a bench. The night was chilly. It was early November, and a slight drizzle added to my discomfort. Drizzle means a light shower of rain. That is when it slowly, that is called drizzle. Soon it was raining quite heavily. My shirt and pajamas stuck to my skin, and a cold wind blew the rain across my face. I went back to the bazaar and sat down in the shelter of the clock tower. The clock showed midnight. I felt for the notes. They were damp from the rain. Anil's money. In the morning, he would probably have given me 2 or 3 rupees to go to the cinema, and now I had it all. I couldn't cook his meals, run to the bazaar, or learn to write whole sentences anymore. These are the thoughts which are running in his mind now, when he is waiting. I had forgotten about them in the excitement of the theft. Whole sentences I knew could one day bring me more than a few hundred rupees. It was a simple matter to steal, and sometimes just as simple to be caught. But to be a really big man, a clever and respected man, was something else. I should go back to Anil. I told myself, if only to learn to read and write. I hurried back to the room feeling very nervous, for it is much easier to steal something than to return it undetected. I opened the door quietly, then stood in the doorway in clouded moonlight. Anil was still asleep. I crept to the head of the bed and my hand came up with the notes. I felt his breath on my hand. I remained still for a minute. Then my hand found the edge of the mattress and slipped under it with the notes. I awoke late next morning to find that Anil had already made the tea. He stretched out his hand towards me. There was a 50-rupee note between his fingers. My heart sank. I thought I had been discovered. I made some money yesterday, he explained. Now you will be paid regularly. My spirits rose. But when I took the note, I saw it was still wet from the night's rain. Today, we will start writing sentences, he said. He knew. But neither his lips nor his eyes showed anything. I smiled at Anil in my most appealing way, and the smile came by itself without any effort. Now, what does this mean? The last portion of the whole story, I think all of you have understood, and the last portion of the whole story, giving that wet note to that man, when reveals the fact that Anil understood or came to know that Hari Singh had tried to steal it. But why do you think he has not mentioned anything about it? That is because the fact that a person has stolen and then kept it back reveals that the man has made a reconciliation within himself, has forgiven the fact, has understood the fact that stealing and missing out a person's trust is not a good deed at all. The value which we should have is these are the small things which we learn. The values which we have in our life should play a very, very important role in our life, because forgiveness to oneself is also a great deed. Don't be ashamed of anything. We all do mistakes in our life, but when we understand that the mistake which we have done in our life is a mistake, and we take a determined and a planned determination in our life that we will not steal again, is what is forgiveness to oneself. The person from whom we have stolen needn't forgive. Maybe he has understood, maybe he doesn't say anything. But don't you think now Anil's and Hari Singh's life has changed dramatically? There will always be a trust between the two men, and also the realization on Hari Singh's part that education is much more important than anything else in the world. And he realizes also the fact that education can give him more money than stealing small little amounts of money from here and there. So this fact that the effect of trust which can have in a person's life has a dramatic and drastic change in a person's life. I hope all of you have understood, and again I am asking you all, reminding you all, be safe, be sound, and also please read at least there are innumerable stories of Ruskin Bones. Please, please read at least 2 stories, any 2 stories of Ruskin Bond. 2 stories and you read, and I bet you will read more than that. But at least 2, for my sake and for the sake of literature and for the sake of Ruskin Bond and the beautiful stories which he has created for us. Thank you. Until we meet again. Bye bye.